So now, holiday traditions.
Well, I'd say one of my favorite holiday traditions is talking to my ex-wife and my son who live in Ohio and telling them how warm it is in Southern California.
My tradition is setting up a very large Lego winter village at our local library. So it's up at our local library right now, my giant Lego winter village that everybody comes to see. So that's my favorite tradition, setting it up. And so I've got a big plan next year to build a life-size Lego Christmas tree. And so far, I've got it modeled out to a little over 20,000 Lego bricks.
20,000?
I'm excited about building that.
Oh my gosh.
It's only 4 feet, but I want a 6-foot tree. So I got to figure out, it's not so much the number of bricks as the structure. Yeah. And to keep it from falling over.
Right. Or collapsing on itself, right? Because it's got to be on a trunk.
It'll be heavy. Yeah. So what was the other question you asked?
Yeah. Tell me more about what the Serious Lego Play is. What is
Lego
that?
Serious Play is a series of application techniques where we, my idea is you can't solve a problem unless you can see the problem. So how many times do we get into conversations with different project subject matter experts and stakeholders and clients and the C-level suite, anybody? And it's not my problem, it's their problem. Or I can do this, I can solve this problem, but they are the problem that prevents me from solving my problem. And in the end, everybody wants to do good work. I mean, we think about all the people we work with. Everybody wants to do a good job. The problem is the perspective of how they see the problem versus how somebody else, a different department. And there are other underlying things like supply channels and different things that may, other parts of other departments may not see that same perspective. So you use Lego and you build 3D metaphorical stories and you lay out the problem and everyone build their own, but it gets to some really deep thinking, enters an area that you probably have never stretched your brain before. So for instance, everybody's familiar with Lego, and if you were to have a random little pile of Lego in front of you right now, and I were to ask you a question, build a model of what trust looks like. So now you're, okay, this is not a car or a plane or a house. This is not a noun. This gets into some metaphorical, how do I explain my perception of what trust looks like in the workplace? Now, if all of us were doing that at the same time, all of us would have a different perception of what that is. But because they're all in front of us and they're all there, we're not just listening to words, we're actually seeing how you feel about it. And then we combine that together. And then over time, we build on that and we build on that till eventually there's one model that is collectively agreed upon, that this is what we all agree and commit to, that trust looks like in our organization. And now the benefit of that is not just participating. Well, that's the big benefit, is that largely most meetings, 20% of the people consume 80% of the time. And there's a lot of people that just kind of sit back and don't participate, but they have a lot to offer. So when you strip ranks and titles out of the room and everybody is participating equally, everybody builds the same model, everybody has the same question. So the VP of sales and marketing is working right next to the person that might be a new hire in the mailroom. And they both have a perception of what certain things are. But it's really eye-opening when a C-level suite can see something from somebody that's brand new. It's like, oh, I didn't think of that. I didn't know that. But when they can see it physically, amazing things start to happen. Relationships build, communication improves, teamwork gets enhanced. There's absolutely zero negative output from participating in one of those workshops.
Wow, that's fascinating. I'm sure you have some great stories to share about some of the outcomes that you've experienced with that.
Yeah, one of my favorite, I was in Tokyo and we were working with the US Army Chaplain Corps. And we had a bunch of chaplains. And if you're familiar with the military, chaplains are field grade officers like majors and colonels and things like that. And then they also have these assistants that work in their office, which are enlisted, which could be lower enlisted or, at a non-commissioned officer, sergeant, something like that. Anyway, this colonel was sitting next to his assistant, and I can't remember, I'd have to go back and dig, but I can't remember what we were talking about, but it turned out that she had been working with him for 3 months and did not know she was engaged and about to have a baby. And this was like, he was embarrassed. He was distraught. He was ashamed of himself because this is somebody he depends on day to day in his office. And he didn't know
Wow.
that 3 months, the personal side of what was going on in her life, which then opened up a new conversation about how do we, as leaders, how do we engage at that level with the people that work with us and work for us? And it just makes it tight. But that was that was a pretty
Wow.
emotional.
That's powerful.
It was very powerful.